Good morning. Welcome to the Boise Unitarian Universalist Fellowship's online Zoom service. We are so glad that you have joined us this morning. I am the Reverend Sara LaWall. It is my great honor to serve this beloved community. And whether you are zooming in from just down the street, from across the city, across the country, or even across the oceans, we are so glad you're here. Whatever faiths you have known, if any, or religious practices you embody, you are welcome here. Whoever you love and however you identify, you are welcome here. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. I want to take a moment to give a special welcome to any newcomers among us. We know it takes a lot of courage to check out a new community. We're so glad that you've joined us today, and those of you that have been joining us for the last several weeks. We invite you to take a moment to introduce yourself in the chat so we can warmly welcome you, and to fill out our newcomer form. We'll post a link to that in the chat as well, so we can keep you up to date with all that is happening in our fellowship. And our virtual community continues in this fellowship with everything from meditation to yoga to small group ministry, conversations to our Friday morning coffee clatch. We invite all of you to come and join whatever speaks to your heart. They're always open and welcome, and all the information is on our website. For the newcomers joining us today, we're continuing our Inquirers series for newcomers, a series of sessions that introduce you to Unitarian Universalism and to this fellowship and to other newcomers. And we'll do that in our own breakout room after worship today. So we'll invite you to just stick around, and then we'll move you into that breakout room for today's session, which is a Q&A with the minister. That's me. I am looking forward to joining you all this morning. Today we are kicking off our 2021 annual giving drive. Can I get an amen out there? Yes, you all can amen. You can use the little reactions on your Zoom for today's service, especially because there will be a lot to be excited about. This is the time of year when we invite all of our members and friends to consider their annual financial support of the congregation by making a pledge for the upcoming 2021-22 fiscal year, which begins July 1st. As many of you already know, this congregation's flourishing is supported almost entirely through the generosity of members and friends and our annual pledges. We often like to joke that our pledge drive works a lot like the NPR fund drive in our NPR radio stations, and I can't help but note the coincidence that Boise State Public Radio is holding their spring fund drive this very week. So we invite you to make a pledge online, and we'll put a link in the chat for you to do that. We hope to gather up all of our community's pledges by Celebration Sunday on April 25th. That's just 2 weeks away, and we have an extraordinary and fun celebratory service planned for that day to help us all share in the fun and celebration, and to make sure that you're prepared at home. Our stewardship team has created Celebration Sunday swag bags These will be available for you to pick up outside the south entrance starting tomorrow through Saturday, April 24th. There's all kinds of fun, wonderful items for Celebration Sunday, your own kazoos, blowers, bubbles, and we will incorporate all of those wonderful items into the service as well. Our theme for this annual Giving Drive campaign this year is Together We Thrive. And we have truly been thriving in this year in beautiful ways, despite this global pandemic. Our stewardship team created a campaign that honors and celebrates the extraordinary thriving of our fellowship, inviting us all to remember all of the ways that we have supported and nurtured and sustained and helped each other and our community thrive for more than 60 years. And we are so very excited to kick off our Giving Drive today with some very special guests. Please join me in welcoming the incomparable, amazing musical duo Emma's Revolution. Those of you who've been in the UU world for a while, you have likely heard their incredible music. We've sung several of their songs in worship over the years. I've heard them countless times at our annual General Assembly and also got to see them in concert with Holly Near in Pasadena, California. I am beyond thrilled that they are joining us today. Emma's Revolution is known for their fearless, truth-telling lyrics and the melodies you can't resist singing. They're the dynamic, award-winning activist duo of Pat Humphries and Sandy O. Their songs have been sung for the Dalai Lama, praised by Pete Seeger, and covered by Holly Near. They recently released Our House is on Fire, which was selected as the opening track for Hope Rises, a compilation CD from a national nonprofit co-founded by Noel Paul Stuckey of Peter, Paul and Mary. And then they also recently composed a track about the Capitol insurrection called On a Day in January, which was released to folk radio earlier. And they are winners of the John Lennon Songwriting Contest Grand Prize and the Phil Ox Award, among countless others. As they say, their work has always been about building connection, love, and justice through song. And like so many artists during this pandemic, they've moved as much of their work online as possible, creating opportunities for people to sing together Zoom style and to use songwriting as a way to process the big emotions in this unsettling time. Welcome, welcome, Emma's Revolution. We are so glad you are with us this morning.
Thank you so much for having us. It's really a pleasure to be with you all. I'm so glad we have this opportunity.
Thank you.
Very thrilled to be joining you from the Sacramento Valley, which is the native land of the Patwin people, and really lovely to have this opportunity to come to Idaho.
Great. Thank you, and welcome to those of you out there. I know a couple of you have already introduced yourselves in the chat, those Emma's Revolution fan followers who are joining us today to see them perform live with us. It is wonderful to have you with us. As we gather together, even virtually, we take a moment to acknowledge the land upon which our church and homes exist is the ancestral land stolen from the Shoshone, Bannock, and Paiute, Nez Perce tribes, and other tribes whose names have been lost to history, who inhabited much of this region before they were rounded up and forced to leave. This land has a long history, long before colonization. And we acknowledge that our presence here today is founded upon the exclusions and erasures of many Indigenous peoples. So along with our acknowledgement, we work to continue the process of dismantling the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism, honoring the Indigenous community's connection to the land and supporting their right to sovereignty. Before we enter fully into this time of worship together, I want to share some sad news with you. Yesterday morning, longtime member Gary Wyke died from heart failure. Gary had been a member of this fellowship since 1981 and was the beloved husband of our minister emerita, Reverend Elizabeth Green. We mourn with Elizabeth and Gary's friends and family wrapping them in our love and in our prayers. Let us breathe together, knowing that our breath connects us to one another through that invisible, shining thread of love that holds us all, that interdependent web. Let us remember that when we worship together, we lift up that which is worthy of praise in our lives. And we hold space for the beauty and joys of life alongside the painful losses and sorrows. We create a space for transformation to take root, celebrating this thriving community, our spiritual home, a place where we can bring our hopes and dreams, a place where we can champion justice and practice compassion, a place where we can be known exactly as we are. As you hear the words of our prayer this morning, I invite you to hear these words expressed to the hopes and dreams that thrive in this beloved community. Thou art the song of my heart in the morning. Thou art the dawn of truth in my soul. Thou art the dew of the roses adorning. Thou art the woven whole. Thine is the grace to be steadfast in danger. Thine is the peace that none can destroy. Thine is the face of the need-driven stranger. Thine are the wings of joy. Thou art the deep, to the deep in me calling. Thou art a lamp where my feet shall tread. Thy way is steep past the peril of falling. Thou art my daily bread. Thine be the praise of my spirit uplifted. Thou art the sea to each flowing stream. Thine be the days that are gathered and sifted. Thou art the deathless dream.
We are living beneath the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in this stream together, some in power, some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. I am alone, I am searching, hungering for answers in my time. I am balanced at the brink of wisdom. I'm impatient to receive a sign. I move forward with my senses open. Imperfection, it be my crime. In humility I will listen. We're all swimming to the other side. We are living beneath the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in this stream together, some in power, some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. On this journey through thoughts and feelings, finding intuition, my head, my heart, I am gathering the tools together. I'm preparing to do my part. All of those who have come before me band together and be my guide. Loving lessons that I will follow. We're all swimming to the other side. We are living beneath the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power, some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. When we get there, we'll discover all of the gifts we've been given to share have been with us since life's beginning, and we never noticed they were there. We can balance at the brink of wisdom, never recognizing that we've arrived. Loving spirits will live together. We're all swimming to the other side. We are living beneath the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power, some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side.
Thank you. At this hour, in small towns and big cities, in living rooms and ornate sanctuaries, many of our sibling Unitarian Universalists are also lighting a flaming chalice, reminding us that we are part of a great community of faith. We welcome back our young chalice lighter. They ground us in our hope for a brighter future, even in the darkest of times. If you have a chalice nearby, you are invited to light it with our young chalice lighter, Elaine Pope. As she lights the chalice from her house, you are also invited to share in the chat where you have lit your chalice this morning. Thank you, Elaine. With our collective chalices lit in all of our spaces, we offer you this call to worship from the Reverend Victoria Safford. Our mission is to plant ourselves at the gates of hope, not the prudent gates of optimism, which are somewhat narrower.
Not the stalwart, boring gates of common sense, nor the strident gates of self-righteousness which creak on shrill and angry hinges. People cannot hear us there. They cannot pass through.
Nor the cheerful, flimsy garden gate of everything is gonna be all right.
But a different, sometimes lonely place, the place of truth-telling about your own soul, first of all, and its condition.
The place of resistance and defiance, the piece of ground from which you see the world both as it is and as it could be, as it will be.
The place from which you glimpse not only struggle, but the joy of struggle.
And we stand there, beckoning and calling, telling people what we are seeing asking people what they see. Come, let us worship and stand at the gates of hope together.
I invite everyone to cozy up for our Time for All Ages this morning. Last week, we explored the theme of becoming by talking about letting go in order to let something in. We heard a story of how a community came together to transform an abandoned bus into a space of connection and sharing. There are so many ways that the people of our community have done this same thing, whether it's been in coffee shops, living rooms, our church's sanctuary, parking lots, or in virtual spaces. When we come together, we really transform that space. Our church thinks a lot about who we want to be in the world and how to show up in each other's lives. We are always working on this and making adjustments in order to make our dreams and our hopes for the world a little more real every time we come together. What is a dream that you have? What you want to make happen in the world? What do you think it takes to keep on working on making that dream real? I think it takes a lot of bravery and a lot more practice of welcoming other people to join you and to share their dreams and their stories. Our story this morning is going to help us think about what it's like to become our own brave self in order to connect with other people and start making those dreams real in the world. It's called The Day You Begin, written by Jacqueline Woodson and illustrated by Rafael Lopez. There will be times when you walk into a room and no one there is quite like you. She looks nervous coming in. Maybe it will be your skin, your clothes, or the curl of your hair. There will be times when no one understands the way words curl from your mouth, the beautiful language of the country you left behind. My name is Rigoberto. We just moved here from Venezuela. And because they don't understand, the classroom will fill with laughter until the teacher quiets everyone. Rigoberto, from Venezuela, your teacher says so soft and beautifully that your name and homeland sound like flowers blooming the first bright notes of a song. There will be times when the words don't come. Your own voice, once huge, now smaller, when the teacher asks, "What did you do last summer? Tell the class your story." "We went to France," Shayla says. "These shells come from a beach in Maine." A boy named Jonathan holds out a jar filled with tiny shells, so fragile, they look like they'll turn to dust in your own untraveled hands. "My whole family went to India, Spain, South Carolina." Each souvenir, a small triumph of a journey. Their travels go on and on. And as you stand in front of that room, you can only remember how the heat waved as it lifted off the curb, and you spent your days at home caring for your little sister, who made you laugh out loud and who hugged you hard at nap time. You can only remember the books you on in that room. You'll look down at your own empty hands and wonder, what good is this when other students were flying and sailing and going somewhere? There will be times when the lunch your mother packed for you is too strange or too unfamiliar for others to love as you do. When even your own friend Nadia will wrinkle her nose and say, "What's in there anyway?" And you'll wonder how she doesn't see the rice beneath the meat and kimchi. You'll wonder why she doesn't remember that rice is the most popular food in the whole world. And this is a rice field. That's how rice looks, the place that rice looks when it's growing. There will be times when the climbing bars are too high. The run is too fast and far. The game isn't one you can ever really play. I don't want him on our team. You can watch. Maybe you can have a turn later. Here he is all by himself. There will be times when the world feels like a place that you are standing all the way outside of. All that stands beside you is your own brave self, ready as steel, steady as steel, and ready, even though you don't yet know what you are ready for. Here they are in the reflection of the gorgeous book. There will be times when you walk into a room and no one there is quite like you until the day you begin to share your stories. My name is Angelina, and I spent my whole summer with my little sister. You tell your class, your voice stronger than it was a minute ago. Reading books and telling stories, and even though we were right on our block, it was like we got to go everywhere. Your name is like my sister's, Rigoberto says. Her name is Angelina too. All at once, in a room where no one else is quite like you, the world opens itself up a little wider to make some space for you. This is the day you begin to find the places inside your laughter and your lunches, your books, your travel, and your stories, where every new friend has something a little like you and something so fabulously not quite like you at all. Here they are feeling comfortable and joyful together. I wonder, when is a time that you were shown kindness when you felt unsure or alone? Have you ever practiced telling your story when your story wasn't the same as the others around you? What do you think it takes for people to embrace each other's differences? Why is it important that we accept each other? What is one way you can make the world become a little wider and more welcoming for maybe just one new person? But honestly, at the end of the day, it's for everyone. When we welcome in one person, we welcome in more and more every day. Children and youth, you are invited to stay in our service today, to dance to the music, soak up the wisdom, share your joys and sorrows in the chat. Everyone, please join in singing our community blessing as we honor this multi-generational community full of ever learning, ever growing, ever justice seeking beloveds.
May your mind be open to new learning. May your lips bring truth into the world. May your heart know love and your hands do the work of justice as you go your way in peace. As you go your way in peace.
Thank you, Jem, for that beautiful story. You know, as a fellowship, we strive to be that place where each time we are together, we can begin, we can share our stories and our lives with one another, and we can find those moments of deep connection and like-mindedness, and those moments of deep connection even with those who are wildly different from us. May this place always be that place where we can share ourselves and our stories and begin again every time we're in community together. We have a story to share with you, another story. It's one of my favorite elements of our annual Giving Drive season, hearing beautiful testimonials from members sharing what they love about our community and why they choose to support it. And so far in this campaign, we've heard from longtime members, brand new members, one who grew up in the congregation. Today, our testimonial comes from longtime member Deborah Smith and her newer to Booth partner, Clay Lyons.
So, Clay, what do you appreciate about Booth?
I was drawn to the fact that it was non-denominational, and learning about the principles, I was really drawn to that.
Yes. We do refer to the UUA as a denomination, technically speaking. We're not a denomination of a Christian faith anymore, but we used to be. And you're right that we don't have the same beliefs about the nature of God or a universe without God, but we do aspire to behave in accordance with our 8 principles. The focus is on principled behavior, which is so hard.
It is. The other thing that I really like about Booth is how engaged the congregation is. There's so many examples: interfaith sanctuary, supporting refugees, racial justice, environmental controls, and progress. And the other thing I really enjoy, because I'm kind of a newcomer, is I really appreciate Reverend Sara and the leadership that she has shown as a leader of a spiritual community. It's great. And the fact that she can't do it alone and she requires the congregation to help out speaks volumes to me. So action is greater than words.
Yeah, I love that about Booth too. Reverend Dana, who was our interim minister, told Sara, I think, this may be apocryphal, but I think it's true, that we are known as a very earnest folk. We take our lay leadership roles very seriously. We understand that we have an obligation to serve and not just attend worship, although we are here for folks who come to us primarily for the worship experience.
And the other thing that I was talking to Deborah about tonight was the fact that at 63 years old and I'm learning new things, important things, is really exciting to me, and it means a lot. So I am internally grateful.
Reverend Sara helps us all grow and helps everyone find their talents. I love how she shares the pulpit with Jem, whose story for all ages are always creative and relevant, and with the celebrants, who are encouraged to contribute their ideas to this service, and how she supports Carrie and Mike in writing their music. Our worship services are truly a reflection of who we all are.
Yeah. So as far, just to wrap it, I really appreciate how much people are encouraged to grow and develop. That means a lot to me.
Yeah, it's important, because if we don't grow, what are we doing? What are we here for?
Exactly.
We really like Booth.
Love you all.
Thank you so much, Deborah and Clay. We really like you too. And this congregation comes alive thanks to the depth of commitment and the labors of all of you who love it and support it so. It is a joy to be your minister and to be in a collaborative partnership with all of you to live out our hopes and dreams and create a place where our hopes and dreams can thrive together. In addition to our annual pledge campaign commitments, we also take up an offering each week to help sustain the ongoing work and ministry of our fellowship and the ministry of our monthly plate partner. Each month we share 25% of that unpledged plate offering with a local nonprofit. And this month, that offering will go to the work of LINK, the Living Independence Network, who are empowering individuals with disabilities to achieve their desired level of independence. It is our generosity, our practice of generosity, that fuels our becoming. A generosity that helps us build beloved community within and beyond our walls. This community offers something larger than our individual selves. We are a place of growth and caring, a place where we can become, a place where we can bring our hopes and dreams. And by giving, we say yes to a community that does not limit our love, a community that holds its arms open to possibilities, a place to nourish your soul and share your gifts. We thank you for your generosity and your support of this beloved community. Our offering will now be received.
Take the seed that you have and plant it here. Give it water and time for a day or a year. Take the seed that you have and plant it here. Give it love. Give it love. Now you can sing this song with us. It goes like that, just like you heard. And sometimes the words are the same, sometimes they're different. Try it with us. Take the seed that you have and plant it here. Give it water and time for a day or a year. Take the seed that you have and plant it here. Give it love. Give it love. Give it some love. Give it 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 love.
dream that you have, and dream it here. Give it love, 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 give it love.
Take the song that you have and sing it here. Give it strength and time for a day or a year.
Take the song that you have and sing it here. Give it love, 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 give it love,
Give it love, give it love.
Thank you both so much. This is a place where you can plant a dream and a song, and where we can give it love and nurture it and help it grow together. I want to start with a story for my sermon today, but not to outshine Jem, who has thoughtfully chosen beautiful stories and questions always stir something very deep within me, and I know all of you. And our minds and our spirits have certainly thrived in Jem's nurturing hands. This story comes from a Unitarian congregation in the 1930s and was told by the Reverend Jane Jepka, a retired minister from Reading, Massachusetts. And she was digging through her church's historical archives and stumbled across an old dusty ledger from the 30s, just as the Great Depression was sweeping through the country, through towns and cities and churches. And here's some of what she wrote about that discovery. In the 1930s, of course, times were tough. At that time, church members were accustomed to pledging 25 cents a week, 50 cents, or $1. And during the 1929-30 church year, all of the church members fulfilled their pledges of $13, $26, or $52. But as the Depression continued, the ledger books began to show tiny numbers at the bottom of each page. 5 cents, $2, $12, and then a little S, 5 cents short of the pledge, $12 short, just what we would expect during the Depression. But imagine this. Imagine that more numbers appeared at the bottom of the ledger. $4, 80 cents, $7, 30 cents. And after those numbers, the tiny letter O, $4 over the pledge, 80 cents over. I can find no evidence of a special appeal from the governing board, no traces of public discussion, only the quiet generosity of the people of the church. Quiet generosity. No fanfare, no urgent letters painting dire straits, just people giving what they could out of a deep and abiding affection for each other, for their community as a whole, and for their hopes for the world. Regular people too, because that's who we are in a church. We are regular people with regular lives, worshiping together, celebrating marriages and burying loved ones, dedicating children, caring for one another, taking care of this spiritual home we have built together, and reaching out to do our part in the world and trying to live our best lives. But this year has hardly been a regular year. This year has been, well, I will let you fill in the blank with your own description, and you're welcome to share those in the chat. This year has been hard, lonely, painful, grief-laden, beautiful, strange, lacking in hugs and human contact, quiet, finally slow, ragged, scary. We could go on and on and on. You can keep sharing your reflections and descriptions. We regular folk have weathered one hell of a year together, stacked up against the ongoing passages and milestones of the regular lives and the lifetimes that exist between us. And your quiet generosity has sustained us through it all. I've been feeling a bit daunted lately, wondering how to continue to create meaningful worship and sustain virtual church life beyond this 1 year mark. This is now our second all virtual annual Giving Drive campaign. And while I am so grateful for all of the support from our stewardship team and our staff, I miss being together, singing together, clapping and dancing and celebrating together. And I will admit, I feel some trepidation around making it exciting and inspiring at a time when we are all weary with pandemic life and all that is unfolding in our midst, and all that sometimes feels at odds with who we are as Unitarian Universalists. But then I remember your quiet generosity. How last year we watched our economy teeter and fall and nearly shut down with overwhelming uncertainty in the early months of the pandemic, and how you dug deep to share your generosity, and we had the most successful giving drive ever. You gave when others could not. And what you couldn't give financially, you gave in other ways. You gave in your love and support, in meals and cards and notes of encouragement to each other and to our staff. You gave not because we did anything brilliant, but because you saw the brilliance that already existed and the brilliance that is yet to come. Your quiet generosity allowed us to keep our hopes and dreams thriving, to keep planning for the future, and to keep supporting the vital work of living out our Unitarian Universalist values in our community. I am so proud of us, and I am so proud and deeply honored to be your minister. This weekend marks the 5th anniversary of my formal installation service. It was an incredible service that we got to have in that beautiful space at Jump when we committed ourselves to one another. We essentially made vows to each other, rededicating ourselves to this free faith, to justice, equity, and compassion, to speaking the truth in love, to cultivating spiritual growth, and to the cooperation and collaboration we knew it would take as we embarked on this journey of shared ministry together. I went and dug up the words that you spoke during the act of installation in that service 5 years ago. And as I read them, we'll also share them on a slide on your screen, and I invite you to speak them aloud with me again today. We cherish our fellowship for its historic achievements and for its efforts to keep abreast of changing times. We celebrate its devotion to freedom and its dedication to issues of justice and to the inherent dignity and worth of all people. We cherish the memory of those who founded, nurtured, and progressively transformed our existence as a congregation. We cherish our fellowship for all that it now has to give. We cherish our church for what it may yet become through our united efforts. Amen to those prophetic and beautiful words. I hope we continue to embody them for generations to come. As we approach our 60th anniversary of our official incorporation as a church community and joining the Unitarian Universalist Association, together celebrating the anniversary of the merger of Unitarian and Universalism 60 years ago, I've been slowly digging through our history a bit, reading old newsletters, looking through photo albums. We're so blessed to have such a wonderful set of archival materials so lovingly tended to by those who recognize the importance of remembering where we've come from. In those early days of the fellowship in the 1950s and 60s, folks gathered in people's homes and later at the YWCA downtown. Now, could you imagine going to a fellowship, a religious community, with a friend of yours, perhaps, in the living room of someone you may not even know? How intimidating that must have felt. You can't just lurk in the back and duck right out at the end and stay anonymous in a house church. And as strange as that might have felt for some, I can also imagine how invigorating it must have felt to find your people, to find what Unitarian Universalists across the country often describe as like-minded people, especially here in Idaho in the 50s and 60s. Here were a group of people, much like we are today, questioning the status quo of society, of government, of identity, of relationships, and of religion. They were people who found themselves in multi-faith relationships, or people who could no longer abide by the rigid doctrines of their childhood churches, people who wanted to get involved in important issues of the day with others who cared about those same issues. They were people who felt like outliers in their families or workplaces, people who felt different because of their beliefs or no belief, all of them looking for a place where they might connect with others like them, a place where they might fit in, even just a little bit, a place to begin and a place to belong, a place where they could bring more questions than answers, more doubts than certainty, a place where they could change their minds and learn new ideas and practices, a place where they could let down their guard and drop some of their armor and share their deepest hopes and dreams. Hopes and dreams that were not often reflected in the community around them. We still strive to be that place today, to keep tending the flame of that legacy and to keep evolving and learning and changing and becoming our best selves together, building a world where our hopes and dreams thrive. Because for decades, week after week, year after year, more and more people came to this fellowship, searching for that place to belong, for a community where they could bring their hopes and dreams and values, where they could bring their questions, doubts, and differences. Being a liberal, let alone a religious liberal in Idaho, isn't always easy. We are most definitely the outliers. In some circles, we are the radicals. And it's hard to hold on to those hopes and dreams when the world around us seems set against them. When social justice, activism, diversity, equity, and inclusion have become dirty words and targets in our public spaces and institutions. When leaders and others refuse to acknowledge a sense of collective responsibility in caring and protecting one another, in keeping our community safe and healthy, all members of our community. when masks are being burned instead of worn with reverence, and when a police officer is on trial for murdering a Black man, and we hold our collective breath, reliving the trauma of his death, uncertain if our hopes for justice will ever be served. So we come to this place, to this fellowship of loving, big-hearted, deeply committed, justice-seeking, compassionate, like-minded, and sometimes wildly different-minded beloveds. We come to this place, sometimes bearing battered hopes and dreams, weary and beleaguered, yearning for a place to connect, a place to renew our minds and bodies and spirits. And we come to this place to share our lives together, the soaring joys and beauty and the ordinary moments. We come knowing that here our hopes and dreams for our own lives and our hopes and dreams for the world will be nurtured, sustained, restored, and loved into being over and over and over again. We regular folk keep giving ourselves to a community that has given so much to us, a community that has grown and thrived for more than 60 years, a community that needs all of us to keep thriving and keep growing well into the future. May every day in this fellowship be the day when we can begin, and may we always be a place where hopes and dreams thrive. Amen. Our hopes and dreams, they are held. They are held by all of you, by all of us, recognizing that we need one another on this journey of life and that we are not alone. We open up a space each week to share those joys and sorrows, those passages and milestones of our lives with one another, to receive and carry the blessings of this beloved community. We have a few joys and sorrows to share aloud with you, and then we invite you to share your joys and sorrows in the chat this morning. The first joy is that today is beloved Warren Bean's 92nd birthday. Warren has not been able to join us these Sunday mornings for a while now, but we will bring him our collective birthday greetings as a community. And I'll share with you that in honor of his 92nd birthday, he left me a piece of cake at my office door this morning. Happy birthday, Warren, and thank you for the cake. And it is also Mark Bussolini's birthday, and his wife, Anne-Marie, wanted to make sure that we and she wished him an amazing happy birthday. And of course, our love and prayers and deep wells of sorrow hold Reverend Elizabeth and the family of Gary White as they move through their grief at his death. Friends, please we invite you to share your joys and sorrows in the chat. Thank you all. I am reading that there are more birthdays to celebrate that are coming through in the chat today. Happy birthday to all of you on this day, and Nancy Harms, a special happy birthday to you too. We hold the joys and sorrows of our beloved community alongside our silent prayers that we hold close to our hearts. Gathered up with the joys and sorrows of our nation and our world, we hold them all close, breathing them in and sending forth love. Amen.
There are ways, big and small, that we can create a more just and loving world for our community. And, for some people, it's demonstrating in the streets. And for some times, that's exactly the appropriate action. And there are also ways that we can just explore our own practices and our own habits in the culture, and just subvert the sort of dominant abusive paradigm that we've sort of just gone along with, not realizing that we were paying into it. So we've done that in this song, where you can sing. I'll sing a short phrase, and you can respond in the first verse, in the light, and in the second verse, in the dark, and the third verse, we begin. And by doing so, you can subvert the ways in which white supremacy has found its way into our language, and just send a subtle, generous prayer out into the world to undo the harm that we have unknowingly been doing through our language. We have come in the light to this place, in the light with our hearts, in the light open wide. We are here in the light, giving voice, in the light to the truth, in the light we divide. Let us sing for today. Let us learn better ways, showing love in the light, giving hope in the light we create, in the light better days. We are born in the dark, we are fed in the dark, we connect in the dark through the veil. We are held in the dark, we are healed in the dark, mysteries in the dark we reveal. Let us sing for today. Let us learn better ways, showing love in the dark, giving hope in the dark we create, in the dark better days. Time is now, we begin where we are. We begin, we have all. We begin that we need to renew. We begin to release. We begin to rebuild. We begin to believe. Let us sing for today. Let us learn better ways, showing love. We begin giving hope begin, we create, we begin better days.
Amen. Thank you. That was beautiful. Friends, I invite you into a time of meditation and prayer. We'll start with a brief meditation together, and then we'll come back and wrap it up with a collective responsive prayer. So I invite you, if you're comfortable, to close your eyes if that works for you, to feel your body in space wherever it is that you are sitting, and to take a few deep breaths. As deep as you can. We are all holding so much as individuals, as a community, as a nation. And with each breath, we can expand our capacity to hold all that is our lives. And as you breathe, filling all those nooks and crannies in your body, letting your muscles relax on each exhale. I invite you to imagine that you are sitting in a comfortable and safe place in the dark. And in that darkness, you welcome the quiet, the peace, the stillness. In that darkness, you can tune in to hear the whispers of your own heart. We need that darkness in our lives. Those times of rest and reflection. Those times of quiet and even those times of deep sorrow. But darkness alone is not enough. And so as you sit in the dark, I invite you to imagine a pool of light slowly beginning to enter your space. Slowly widening, shining in upon you. That light of hope. That light of possibility. That light of protection and connection. that light of eternal love. Allow yourself to be bathed in that light. To let it seep into your bones. Not replacing the beauty of the darkness, but weaving with it. Knowing you are held, knowing you are loved. Holding on to that peace, I invite you to take a couple more deep breaths. Slowly bring yourself back into your space. Ground yourself in whatever way you need to, whether rubbing your hands together, your palms together, or on your thighs, or wiggling your fingers. And maintaining that depth of connection, that spirit of prayer. We invite you to join us in this responsive prayer, adapted from the Litany for Becoming by Enfleshed. And you are invited to join in and speak aloud the response, "This is where hopes and dreams thrive." And as you see, we'll help you out, and Mark will hold up a little cue card in his screen as we begin.
To become is a lifelong process. Nothing is constant, not even the self. We evolve in the midst of narratives meant only for some, and ways of being made narrow by fear and power.
We must then have the courage to listen to the truth of our own lives, to the wisdom that comes from within, responding without resistance or need to control, but to welcome with welcome and curiosity. This is what ensures our becoming is an unfolding of our truest self, an expression of our deepest hopes and dreams.
This lifelong labor cannot be carried out alone. It requires help from friends and lovers and family and community who bear witness to what makes us come alive and say to us, listen, look, feel, pay attention to that. This is where hopes and dreams thrive.
Telling the stories, sharing in the memories, giving thanks for the relationships, understandings, and experiences past that have shaped us to this day. This is where hopes and dreams thrive.
Celebrating new beginnings that excite, taking risks together, leaning into unknowns with the promises of support and companionship. This is where hopes and dreams thrive.
Listening to the future, calling uniquely to each of us in the midst of all of life's noise.
Helping one another find our place in the shared labor of collective life.
Supporting each other in what it is the world's ache is asking from us. This is where hopes and dreams thrive.
For all the saints who labored for what is.
All the kin whose lives made ours possible.
For all those yet to come, for whom living our truths today will mean breaking possibilities open for them tomorrow.
We pause, we celebrate, we give thanks. Together, our hopes and dreams thrive.
Together,
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 our hopes and dreams thrive.
When I was 4, I had a toy made of plastic and of joy. A magic musical machine from a drum, a stick, and strings. I couldn't know as I would play. I'd live to meet the man one day, playing songs that shaped my life, taught the world to sing. Oh, hear the banjo ring. Hear the people sing. Hope changes everything. Sing, people, sing. Summer of my 18th year, in San Francisco he'd appear. I jumped onto a trolley car, alone and wondering. The grove was full when I got there. People came from everywhere. I climbed a redwood by the stage to watch the reveille. Oh, hear the banjo ring. Hear the people sing. Hope changes everything. Sing, people, sing. Years went by, I got a call, a festival in early fall. Along the Hudson River shore, a harvest gathering, asking me to volunteer to keep the river clean and clear, to celebrate the river's life and all the gifts it brings. Oh, hear the banjo ring. Hear the people sing. Hope changes everything. Sing, people, sing. Stood up to McCarthy's rage, rallied for a living wage, rode with Woody, marched with Dr. King. Patiently brought us along, taught us each and every song. With Toshi by your side, you could do most anything. You showed us how the world could be, living with integrity. Together we create a force beyond imagining. As I observed your dimming light, I felt a spark in me ignite. But I would trade it all today to hear your banjo ring. Oh, hear the banjo ring. Hear the people sing. Hope changes everything. Sing, people, sing. Try it with us. Oh, hear the banjo ring. Hear the people sing. Hear the people sing. Hope changes
Thank you, Emma's Revolution. What a beautiful song. What a beautiful way to end our service together. Thank you so much for being part of this day with us, and to all who made this worship service possible. Friends, I invite you to place your hands over your heart for our closing blessing. We are the dreamers and the doers, the blessing bringers and the grace givers, thriving together, connected by that shimmering light of eternal love, sustained by the presence of one another and by this place, this community that has wedged its way into our hearts. Remember, friends, we are the ones we have been waiting for, and hope changes everything. This is where our hopes and dreams thrive. Blessed are we all. Go in peace.